And then if you now sit down and ask critical questions, those that you knew were nothing, and suddenly they stole money from somewhere, or they got opportunity to be somewhere, and then you find them in National Assembly, they now become the lords. Then a lot of them will now go and buy one form of certificate to come and present to INEC. The fundamentals are not there. What we should start to do is to begin to set standards, not like my brother said. Set realistic, achievable standards. Let us start by saying, you cannot aspire to public office without basic education. And that is why the educational standard of Nigeria is going down, because those who are in positions of authority are not educated themselves. And you cannot tell me that you can be anything without education. People like Albert Einstein were thrown in their graves. Your brother Philip Emeagwali in the United States will be angry with you and may refuse to come back to Nigeria if you begin to convince him that you can be anything without education. So, fundamentally, let's start by saying you cannot go to House of Assembly without being a graduate. At least let's start from there.
That would be discriminatory.
Without being a graduate.
Graduate would need to be
a graduate.
At what level? BSc or OND? Because there's OND, there's NCA.
OND is not a graduate.
They will tell you that they are graduated at certain levels.
In that case, so when my little boy left nursery school, he did graduation ceremony.
So he's a graduate. I mean, you need to.
He's relative. So you can say at least you should have HND or its equivalent to go to House of Assembly. Today we talk about Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore. Go and check the profile of ministers of Singapore. First class, PhD, masters, first class, PhD, masters. A man who went to school, a man who, or woman, when I say man, sorry a little, I mean it's in generic terms. I mean it includes woman, who went to school and got well schooled and well tutored. In the course of doing that, has imbibed the culture of integrity. He is definitely different from a dropout who eventually became a motopark tout and then made money by killing one person or the other and then end up going to run for legislative position. You cannot judge both of them on the same pedestal. So what is difficult about setting at least that minimal standard? You cannot say it's discriminatory because the schools are there for everybody to go to. If you refuse to go, that means there is a particular level of discipline and responsibility that is lacking in that person. Lacking in that person. So you now open it for people who are ready to imbibe that culture of discipline, and then from there they learn the art of service. You cannot come to Nigeria and say a governor is a school certificate attempted. Okay, after all, it is you will sit there, he has aides that are working for him. But the question, elect the aides.
The question will ask you, what about those who have their certificates, who have their doctorate, their masters, and all of that in legislative or executive offices, but are not performing? So is it a question of qualification that determines?
They have been infiltrated. When you mix apple with oranges, the apple juice comes out with the orange juice. What do you drink? Those fine ones,
orange poo.
Those fine ones have been infiltrated by the bad ones.
Okay.
And then in a bit to play catch up on survival mechanism, which is natural in every human being, they tend to drop their guard. But when you get close to them, they will tell you the pains they go through. Having to work with their colleagues.
Add this, include this, because I understand we need to wind now. The fact that we have some institutions already set up that are supposed to train these people in the art of service, like the National Democratic Institute, I think we have something like that. Then there's something that's also trained the legislators on how to deliver on their responsibility. So add that in your
Well, I just wanted to downplay the emphasis on paper qualification. You've gone through school, you've had that. You could still come out and be very useless because you're not given to public service. This thing is a calling. What we must stress is you having the calling for public service. And if we begin to stress that, the best of us will wake up and say, you know what, I have this in me and I want to give it. That's how you can move any nation forward. I do not know how our first Prime Minister wasn't a graduate. But my friend, he speaks better than most graduates today. True. He was a man, he was a decent gentleman. They called him then the man with the golden voice. I watch his interviews and you see his answers. The man was brilliant. But there was no paper qualification like my friend was saying. The likes of Maitama Sule, another great orator. I don't know when he graduated or which university he went to, but he does better than a lot of these people. It's a culture of training people, first of all, which this constitution will let you anyway. It's about dividing oil money. That's just what it's all about, dividing oil money. But if we break away from that and begin to make our role models that man who has been making sacrifices. If such a man is representing you, he goes by the law. And he knows he's there because he qualifies to be there. Yeah. This code of standards, we must stress it, we must campaign about it, we must evangelize it.
Yeah, Oscar, do you see us moving towards that which you have just said?
We'll make it happen.
In light of the fact that oil resources are dwindling,
Amen.
Oil from income is dwindling,
Amen.
To a point where, in fact, the prayer of the Delta people, you know, those producing the oil, is the oil wells should just dry up, and let's see what will happen to Nigeria.
I'm part of praying that way. Because, well, I'm half Delta too. So I'm part of praying that way. The oil should dry up. And guess what? Nigeria will wake up. I'll tell you what.
Then we will be doing all these things that
then we'll begin to do the right thing. I used to have a nephew, a very young boy. He was sucking his mother's breast up to when he was 4 years old. And he didn't walk for 4 years. Then suddenly the mother died. That day he got up and he walked. Today, he's a branch manager, very brilliant boy. If his mother was alive, he'll be useless. If that oil is there, will remain useless.
I think that's a good place to leave it. We have been chatting with two legal practitioners and social commentators, Mr. Oscar Oundiwe, as well as Mr. Fred Nzeako. Thank you very much for coming to share your opinions with us this morning.
And you didn't answer my question. The Democratic Institute we have.
They don't work. They work in. A lot of our people give them piles of books like they can't read it. They're supposed to train you on how to read fast. It's a training that's happening in Parliament in England, in the Congress. There are people who are there. The minute you come in, you come for that training. The fact that you're a graduate doesn't even mean you can read fast. But they train you on how you can do that. You flip through things and you get the gist of it. That's not happening. How many people are talking in the National Assembly? You can count them on one hand and have some fingers left.
How many are talking, and why would we even limit the number of
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation.